Most people are frustrated with how they're being treated, disrespected, overlooked, underpaid, or just not taken seriously. But here's the truth, no one tells you. People don't treat you based on who you are. They treat you based on who you present yourself to be. Do this once, just once, and watch how the world starts responding to you differently. Decide who you are, not who life made you, not who they told you to be, who you choose to be. Identity is a decision. The moment you define it and stand on it, everything around you begins to shift. You stop shrinking, stop apologizing, stop explaining. You show up as someone who knows where they're going, and guess what? People either follow, respect, or get out of the way. But they don't ignore you anymore. Once you've made the decision about who you are, the second step is this: raise your standards. People will only rise or fall to the level of what you allow. You teach people how to treat you based on what you tolerate. If you let people interrupt you, they will. If you let people underpay you, they will. If you accept crumbs, you'll never get the whole table. But the moment you raise your standards, not with noise, but with action, people around you start adjusting. Why? Because excellence is magnetic. Self-respect is contagious. When you move like someone who knows their worth, people either meet you at that level or they remove themselves. Either way, your life gets lighter and your circle gets sharper. Now let's talk about how you speak. Most people don't realize how much power lives in their voice. You can't sound unsure and expect people to follow. You can't speak like you're asking for permission and expect people to respect your decisions. Speak with authority, not apology. Not because you're better, but because you're clear. When your words come from a place of conviction, people start to believe that what you're saying matters. They lean in, they listen, because your tone said what your mouth didn't have to. I know who I am. Then there's alignment. It's not enough to talk the talk. You've got to walk it, live it, breathe it. Don't say you value yourself, then carry yourself like you don't. Your posture matters, your presence matters. How you show up, how you dress, how you handle business. It all tells the world what you think about you. And the world takes your cue. So if you want people to respect your time, your energy, your talent, make sure you do first. Show it in your consistency. Show it in your preparation. Show it in your delivery. Because the world rewards authenticity wrapped in excellence. And let's be clear, none of this works without boundaries. People will test you, they'll push, they'll ask for discounts, for exceptions, for favors you can't afford to give. But when you know your value, you enforce your boundaries, not with emotion, but with confidence. You don't need to yell, you don't need to explain. A simple, calm no from someone who respects themselves is louder than a whole paragraph of justification. And guess what? People hear it, and they adjust. Finally, when you change, when you evolve, when you level up, don't wait for permission. Give them the opportunity to upgrade their view of you. People who knew you before you knew yourself might try to keep you boxed in, labeled, familiar. But when you show up differently, when your habits change, your language changes, your energy upgrades, they have no choice but to see you differently. You don't have to announce it, just be it, and the world will respond. So if you're tired of being overlooked, disrespected, underestimated, don't beg for better treatment. Decide who you are. Raise your standards. Speak with authority. Walk in alignment. Enforce your boundaries. And let your evolution speak louder than your complaints. Do this once and just watch how people treat you differently. Most people never get treated the way they want to be treated because they never take the time to define who they really are. They let life, circumstances, trauma, and other people do the defining for them. But the moment you make a conscious decision about your identity, everything starts to change. Identity isn't something you discover. It's something you decide. You don't find yourself, you create yourself. You carve out a new standard from the inside out. And here's the thing. Once you know who you are, you stop negotiating with people who try to convince you otherwise. If you walk into a room unsure of who you are, you give everyone else the power to assign you a role. They'll label you as average, weak, replaceable, because you never told them different. And in a world that thrives on labels, the loudest identity wins. But when you walk in already decided, when you walk in knowing you're a leader, knowing you're valuable, knowing your presence matters, people feel it before you say a word, because energy doesn't lie. And confidence isn't volume, it's certainty. Deciding who you are isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. It means you stop pretending. You stop shape-shifting to please people. You stop playing small just to keep others comfortable. You stop answering to names that don't belong to you. Lazy, broke, inconsistent, not good enough. When you truly decide who you are, you walk differently. You speak differently. You say no without guilt. You say yes with full commitment. And that clarity forces the world to either adjust to your presence or remove itself. So many people are waiting for a sign to become great. They're waiting for permission, for applause, for validation. But the truth is, the world doesn't give you permission. It responds to your decision. You decide first. You step into the identity of the person you're becoming before the evidence shows up. You lead with belief, and your life catches up. That's how transformation works. The moment you say, this is who I am now, and back it with action, the people around you will either elevate with you or fall off. Either way, you win. You don't need everyone to believe in the new you. You just need you to believe it long enough for the results to speak louder than the doubts. Decide who you are, and you'll never be treated the same again. Once you've decided who you are, the next step is to raise your standards. Because people don't treat you based on what you deserve. They treat you based on what you demand. Not with your words, but with your actions, your expectations, and your energy. Life will always meet you at the level of your standards, not your potential. And for most people, the gap between where they are and where they want to be is simply the gap between what they say they want and what they actually accept. If you keep tolerating lateness, disrespect, mediocrity from others and from yourself, don't be surprised when it keeps showing up. You are the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't just react to how people treat you, you set the temperature. And if your internal setting is too low, you'll keep attracting cold behavior, low offers, and small thinking. But raise the heat. Raise your internal standard, and the environment around you has to change or get out. This is not about becoming difficult, it's about becoming disciplined. It's about saying, I no longer allow disorganization in my space. I no longer accept relationships that drain me. I no longer participate in conversations that lower my vision. I no longer say yes to things that cost me my peace. Every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to what builds you. You're choosing alignment over attachment, and that choice is what separates those who lead from those who settle. The reason most people don't get what they want is because they've trained the world to give them less. And the way you train the world is by what you settle for daily. If you undercharge, they'll underpay you. If you over-explain, they'll undervalue you. If you stay silent when you should speak, they'll assume you have nothing to say. But the moment you make a decision, I will not live beneath this line, you begin attracting people, opportunities, and experiences that match the new standard you set. Raising your standards doesn't always require shouting or confrontation. It starts with you. It starts with what you expect from your mornings, what you allow in your friendships, what you permit in your business, what you pursue in your purpose. And once you stop settling, everything around you starts leveling. Not because people changed, but because you did. Standards are the silent script. Behind every outcome in your life, upgrade that script, and you upgrade the treatment you receive without having to ask for it. You just live it and let the results do the talking. You can have all the talent in the world, all the value, all the experience, but if you don't communicate with authority, people will overlook you. Because the world doesn't just respond to ability, it responds to certainty. And the way you speak is the clearest signal of how certain you are. Every time you open your mouth, you're telling people how to treat you. So the question is, are you speaking like someone who believes what they say matters? Most people dilute their power with weak language. I just think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sorry, but can I just? That kind of language is not humility. It's hesitation dressed up as politeness. And hesitation will never attract respect. Clarity will. Authority will. Confidence will. Because when you speak with confidence, you signal value. You don't ask for space, you own it. You don't rush your words, you let them land. And people feel the difference. They listen differently. And when you move like that, people adjust. They stop interrupting, they stop doubting, they take notice. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy didn't give them another option. But you can't speak with authority if you don't believe in what you're saying. That's where it all starts. Authority isn't an act, it's alignment. When your words match your beliefs, when your message matches your mission, your voice hits different. People don't just hear you, they feel you. They sense that you're speaking from experience, from clarity, from purpose, and they lean in. Because in a world full of noise, real conviction cuts through like a sword. Now, some people will mistake your confidence for arrogance. Let them. That's not your business. Your job isn't to shrink so others can stay comfortable. Your job is to speak with the kind of power that reminds people of what's possible when you know who you are. And that power doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from speaking with intention, owning your story, and refusing to apologize for your presence. The next time you walk into a room, the next time you get on a stage, in a meeting, in a conversation, check your tone, check your language. Ask yourself, am I apologizing or am I affirming? Am I softening my truth or standing in it? Because the world won't treat your words like they matter until you do. And the moment you start speaking like your voice has value, people will start treating it that way. It's one thing to say you know your worth, but the real shift happens when you walk in that worth. When your daily actions, your habits, your posture, your presence all reflect the value you say you carry. Because people don't just hear what you say, they watch how you move. And if your walk doesn't match your words, the world will believe your walk every single time. You can't talk about value and then show up late. You can't claim excellence and then deliver average. You can't preach confidence and then carry yourself like you're unsure. The truth is, value isn't just a mindset, it's a lifestyle. It shows up in how you enter a room, in how you take care of yourself, in how you respond under pressure, in how you prepare for opportunity. You don't need to announce that you're valuable. When you're in alignment, people feel it. And alignment doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency. It means that who you say you are is who you actually are, even when nobody's watching. It means you don't need an audience to perform or a check to commit. You operate with discipline, not because someone is checking for you, but because you've checked in with yourself. When you live in that kind of alignment, you stop chasing validation because you become the evidence. Your life becomes the proof. And here's the part people don't talk about. Alignment costs. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you convenience. It might cost you relationships that don't match your new standard. But that's the price of walking in value. That's the cost of choosing excellence over ease. And the reward, respect. Not just from others, but from yourself. The kind of deep internal respect that comes from knowing you're not faking it. You're living it. If you say you're a leader, but you're waiting to be told what to do, you're out of alignment. If you say you're a professional, but your habits are inconsistent, you're out of alignment. If you say you believe in abundance, but you operate from fear, you're out of alignment. And that misalignment is what creates the gap between what you desire and what you experience. But the moment you close that gap, the moment your behavior catches up with your belief, the world starts responding differently. Doors open, Opportunities come. People notice, not because you asked, but because you became undeniable. You were never meant to beg for recognition. You were meant to embody it. You were never meant to explain your value. You were meant to demonstrate it. Walk in alignment with who you say you are and watch the room shift. Watch how people treat you. Watch how they start offering you what they used to withhold. Not because you changed who you are, but because you finally started living like it. When you start valuing yourself, something powerful happens. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your peace. You realize that boundaries aren't about being rude, they're about being responsible. Because you can't live a high-value life while allowing low-value behavior to have access to you. But here's the key most people miss. Boundaries are strongest when they're enforced without emotion. You don't need to yell to be heard. You don't need to explain your no with a 5-minute backstory. You don't need to feel bad for disappointing people who were only comfortable with you when you were neglecting yourself. The power of a boundary isn't in how loud you say it, it's in how calmly you keep it. Real authority is quiet. It's steady. The people around you will always test what you tolerate. Not because they're malicious, but because you're training them with every response. Every time you bend when you said you would, and every time you say yes when you meant no, you're sending a message. My word isn't final. My line can be moved. And once people learn that, they stop respecting your standards. But the moment you enforce a boundary with calm conviction, everything changes. People learn. This person means what they say. And let's be clear, setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting everyone off or living guarded. It means you've decided what environments support your growth and which ones drain it. It means you don't make decisions from guilt, you make them from alignment. It means you're not responsible for how people feel about your boundary. You're responsible for maintaining the standard that keeps your life in integrity. You'll notice that when you start doing this, some people will get uncomfortable. That's okay. Their discomfort is not your burden, because the version of you that had no boundaries was more convenient for them, but it was costly for you. Now you've decided that peace is more valuable than popularity, that clarity is better than chaos, and that being respected is better than being liked. Don't get caught in emotional battles when enforcing your boundaries. Don't argue to be understood. You don't owe people access just because they've had it before. And you don't need to match disrespect with energy. A boundary isn't about control, it's about clarity. It's you saying, here's where I end and you begin, and here's what's no longer acceptable if you want access to me. No drama, no debate, just truth. When you can enforce your boundaries without needing to defend them, you graduate from survival to self-mastery. You stop living in reaction and start living by design. And that's when the world begins to treat you differently, not because it got kinder, but because you got clearer. One of the most difficult but necessary parts of your growth journey is understanding that not everyone will see you clearly. People see you through the lens of their own limitations, their own history with you, and sometimes their own insecurity. That means even as you evolve, many will still treat you like the person you used to be. And that's why you have to do something radical. Not for them, but for you. Give people permission to upgrade their view of you, whether they take it or not. You don't have to force it. You don't have to announce your growth. You don't have to convince anyone that you've changed. You simply show up differently, speak differently, move differently, think differently. And over time, your transformation becomes too undeniable to ignore. People may question it at first. They may joke about how different you are now. But if you stay consistent, eventually the results will become louder than their opinions. The reality is, some people are more committed to your past than your potential. They liked you better when you were easier to control, easier to access, easier to underestimate. But your job is not to shrink for their comfort. It's to stand in your evolution with confidence. You're not who you were. You've paid for this growth. You've sacrificed for this clarity. You've been through seasons that rewired your mindset. reset your priorities, and rebuilt your confidence. And now you walk with a different energy, not arrogance, but alignment. It's okay if people don't get it right away. Give them the opportunity to grow with you, but don't wait on them to validate the version of you that God, experience, and commitment have built. Let your actions introduce the new you. Let your standards teach them how to approach you now, and let your consistency do the talking. Because eventually, even the ones who resisted your growth will have no choice but to reintroduce themselves to who you've become. But here's what's key. Don't dim yourself to make them more comfortable. Don't pretend you haven't leveled up just to keep old relationships intact. You weren't made to stay in a version of yourself that keeps everyone else secure while you stay stuck. Be willing to walk alone if it means walking in truth. Because as you continue to rise, new people will show up. People who recognize your value immediately, who don't need convincing, who treat you according to the level you live at, not the one you left behind. Give people permission to upgrade their view of you, but don't slow down if they choose not to. Your life isn't waiting for their approval. Your next level isn't based on their acceptance. You've already made the decision. You've already raised your standard. You've already aligned your walk and reinforced your boundaries. Now you just have to keep going and let your evolution do the explaining. So here's the bottom line. If you want people to treat you differently, you've got to show them something different. Not by begging for attention, not by demanding respect, but by becoming the kind of person who makes it impossible to ignore. Decide who you are with conviction, raise your standards without apology, speak with authority like your voice carries weight, because it does. Walk like you understand your value, enforce your boundaries with calm power, and give people the opportunity to either rise with you or watch you rise from a distance. You don't need a title to be respected. You don't need permission to be powerful. The way you live becomes your introduction. The way you carry yourself becomes your signature, and the more consistent you are, the less you'll have to explain, because eventually people will realize they can no longer treat you casually when you've made it clear you're living intentionally. This isn't about impressing others. It's about transforming yourself. And once that shift happens on the inside, the outside has no choice but to catch up. So do it once. Make the decision, make the change. Step fully into the identity, the discipline, the authority, the clarity that belongs to the version of you you've been called to be. And then watch how people treat you differently. Watch how rooms open. Watch how your presence speaks before you ever say a word. Because when you become undeniable, the world can't help but respond accordingly. Now go be undeniable.